Hello and welcome to Intro to Qualtrics video series. This is video 1 of 3. In this series, we're going to talk about what is Qualtrics, how to create and access Qualtrics, navigate Qualtrics and the different features, create a simple survey, which assumes that the viewer is familiar with institutional review board policies and standards, how to distribute surveys and collect results, download results into file formats compatible with Excel, SPSS, or Stata. In this first video, we're going to talk about what is Qualtrics, how to create a Qualtrics account, how to create a new survey, how to collaborate a survey with another user, how to create survey questions, specifically multiple choice, and a matrix of responses, or Likert type scale. So the first step is going to be to go over to Qualtrics. Now, Qualtrics is an online survey platform that anyone at AU can access. So what we're going to do first is we're going to go into the browser, type in american.qualtrics.com. That's going to redirect you to log in with your username and password. So I'm going to type in my username, and I'm going to omit the @american.edu. Then I'm going to go ahead and sign in. I already have an account made. When you click in, if this is your first time using Qualtrics, what you need to do is there'll be another tab that says I do not have an account, and this will ask you questions about some basic information to create your account. There we go. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to create a new project. This is going to be our new survey. There are a bunch of pre-existing survey types that you can go ahead and select and choose from. I'm going to go ahead and click on Survey. And then here you can choose from Create from Copy. So what you can do is you can actually copy an existing survey you previously made. If you have a pre-made survey, this can also be used here from the library, or from a file if you previously created and downloaded a Qualtrics survey and want to use that as a template. We're going to go ahead and choose a blank project and click on Get Started. What we do now is we're going to go ahead and give it a name. Where it says Untitled Project, I'm going to click in there and clear it, then call this Example Survey Intro to Qualtrics. Now, what I'm going to be doing is I have an example survey here as practice that we're going to go ahead and use these questions to create. So ask them, how do they identify? What social media platforms are used? How old are they? Some opinion questions, and then ratings towards an organization. We're going to use display logic, skip logic, and various types of formatting here too. However, before we get started, let's say I want to collaborate this with another user. I'm going to click out by clicking to Projects. And that's okay. I'm going to go ahead and click on Leave. And here's our example one. It's brand new. And I'm going to click on these 3 dots, which are options, and click on Collaborate. Now, your collaborator must have a Qualtrics account. Otherwise, you will not be able to find them. I'm going to go ahead and collaborate this with my collaborator, Lindsay. I'm going to click on Add. Just letting Lindsay know to please ignore this. And you can also vary the permissions. So if I wanted Lindsay to be able to have all access, edit, view reports, and so forth, I can leave that alone. If I wanted just to give the edit option, I can go ahead and uncheck these. And you can always go back in, you can always change these around too. If you wanted to add another user, you just go ahead and you can add search by the user. If you want to remove a user, you just click on that red symbol with the line on it. And I'll go ahead and click on Save. Now I'm going to go ahead and click back into the project to start actually creating some questions. So the first thing I want to do is we have our question here. By default, Qualtrics is always going to start with a multiple choice question. You can always change that though. So here are the different options. If you click on this right-hand side within the question, We can actually choose from a variety of different types here. I'm going to go ahead though, where it says default question block. So imagine a block is essentially a container for all your questions. You can have multiple blocks within the same survey and use more advanced skip logic based on branches, which we won't cover though today. I'm going to go ahead and call this demographics. And now I'm going to go ahead and start with our first question. And I'm going to go ahead and start typing in our responses. Now with this one, we have a preferred to self-describe. And we want to make sure the respondent is able to then describe. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a text box below this. So I'm going to click on the response, click on the drop-down, and click on Allow Text Entry. And that's how you'd go ahead and set that up. Now Qualtrics has two main options. You can import from from the library from an existing question, or create a new question. We're going to mostly use the create a new question here. So let's go ahead and do that. So the next question we have is, which social media platforms do you use? Now, Qualtrics, when you start writing things, like if we start typing in agree, you can also use automatic responses. And these are all the specific scales that have different ones already pre-made to it. So you can use these if you'd like. Now, if you manually enter like, Qualtrics will then try to also create the other options as dislike. You have the ability to override the system if the responses are not to your liking. When creating your own questions, the default is going to be multiple choice with 3 responses. So let me go ahead and clear this back out. I'm going to get rid of those. And with our social media, we have 4. I'm going to click on here to add another response choice. And I'm going to type in our question. Which social media platforms do you use? And I'm going to add in check all that apply. Now in our question 1, we notice that these are all round responses. For check all that apply, we actually need to use a different set. So when we're typing our response types, we have Facebook, we have Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat. So to change this to check all that apply, we're going to change single answer to multiple answer. There's also some other options here too, like multi-select box, drop down. We're just going to choose multiple answer. That way all of these are visible and they can check more than one. What you can also do is you can also change the Q series. So when you download data, it's going to have this as a variable name. I want to put this as identify. I'm going to go ahead and choose this and change this as social. And I'm putting an underscore rather than spaces. That way it makes it easier if you use like SPSS or Stata. That way it's all one word for the variable types. Great. So what we're going to do now is we're going to add in a question to indicate how old they are. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new question. And I'm going to type in, please indicate how old you are. Now, in our example survey, it's in these brackets, these age categories. Now, this isn't going to tell us what the mean standard deviation is because essentially we've created categories instead. So a better approach might be then to just have them type in what their age is. So we can do that. We're going to go ahead and change this from multiple choice to a text entry. And what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we can, by dragging and clicking on this corner, we can actually change the spacing of it. Now I'm going to go ahead and use content validation, and I'm going to choose number. This makes sure that they can only type in a number. That way we don't have to go back and clean it. If they type in the word like 20 or 30, they have to put in the numerical values. So I'm going to put a minimum of 0, a maximum, I'll put a maximum of 100 in there. So that way it has to be within that range. And what we can also do is we can use a force response. That way they have to answer that question before moving on. Now, let's say within this question, we only wanted individuals who are 18 years of age or older. So what we can do then is we can actually create a skip logic so that if any respondent writes in an age less than 18, it's going to put them at the end of the survey. To do that, we're going to click on this gear option and then click on skip logic. So please indicate how old you are. And I'm going to put changes to is less than, and I'll type in 18. It's going to skip them to the end of the survey. And that's how you can do a really basic skip logic. Now I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to add in a new block of questions. Let me go ahead and change this Q3. I'm going to type in age. And I'm just going to change this to questions. Now what I'm going to do is we're going to go ahead and create a Likert scaled or matrix of responses for the next set. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and create a new question. I'm going to change this from multiple choice to matrix table. So we can have our scales here and our specific statements here. Now I'm going to go ahead and copy the instructions of this question, and to make sure it's all the same formatting type, I'm going to click paste as plain text. And now we have strongly agree as our first option. And see how it automatically filled that? Which is great, but we only actually have 4 options here. So I'm going to change that. So strongly agree, I'll put, and actually should be somewhat agree. Okay, and then we have our 3 questions here. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy and paste those, but then I'm going to actually remove the 1, 2, 3 here. Because let's say we wanted to have this be randomly provided to the respondent to remove any potential sequencing effect. What we can do then is we want to randomize the items. So I'm going to click this gear option, click on randomization, and display answers in random order. We also want to change, so strongly agree, rather than giving them a 1, because it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 by default, let's say we wanted this to be 4, 3, 2, 1. So we're going to do a recode so that if they strongly agree, they're going to have a higher score on this. So we're going to recode. I'm going to click on the gear, choose recode values, and then recode values again. I'm going to change this 1 to a 4, this 2 to a 3, this 3 to a 2, and the 4 to a 1. There we go. And then we're going to go ahead and create another set of questions. And we're going to stop here and we're going to pick up in the next video set.